Yeah. Dale, thanks very much for giving us your time. I appreciate it, joining the conversation. The, the topic of today is leadership and entrepreneurship. And I couldn't imagine anybody who built those two elements like you. And I'm very excited to hear what you thought about different subject and your journey. It's basically that we have 86 people, and most of them are young entrepreneurs in Rwanda. And we'll be very much interested to hear what your journey has been. Let me start actually on a personal note. What has been your journey as an entrepreneur, and what has been that journey to you like in the last, 20 years you've been involved, or 15 years?
I went to University of Texas and got an accounting degree.
Can I just stop you quickly? Patrick is here, our moderator. Patrick, could you hear?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. So Patrick, I just introduced Dale and asked the first question about his. Okay. Then you please take over from now. Then
sure.
I can't wait to the discussions. Just for everybody following us, Patrick is the CEO of ICE Group, one of leading tech companies in Rwanda, and actually one of people who really brings the leadership and entrepreneurship together. So can't wait for your conversation. Please, Patrick, take over. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yannick. And thanks. We're glad to have you, Dale. Please go on.
I was just saying, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, an investor, businessman. I got a degree in accounting at college and then went to work for KPMG. I became a corporate tax advisor. And I became an investment banker after that, and then bought a company and built it up. My entrepreneurial activities, my wife and I, in our late 20s, built a company that we imported ceiling fans from Hong Kong to the U.S. and learned some of the hard knocks of being an entrepreneur. Later on, I bought a company that in the heavy duty commercial truck parts business, and we grew that to be the largest truck parts business in the US, and sold it. Went back to investment banking and private equity until I was about 50.
Yeah, thanks for that very interesting introduction, Dale. So I think that brings me to the next question. You had a diverse background in different fields. How did the bridge to Rwanda, get built? Because it's a very interesting name, and I have a story to share with you. Probably I'll do it towards the end.
Sure.
But, how did you think about building that bridge, and why Rwanda of all the countries?
When I was 50, I reached a point in my life where I was looking for something more significant. I'd lost some of the drive just to build companies. And I met Bishop John Rushahana from Rwanda. And I was fascinated that as a clergy, he was one of the most impressive entrepreneurs I'd met. He was building schools and businesses and churches and hospitals. At the time, I didn't know anything about Rwanda. And he invited me to come see the country and to see what he was doing. I quit all my other business activities, came to Rwanda, and was inspired by all the leaders I met here. Eventually, I met President Kagame in about 2005. And I was inspired, I was humbled, and I wanted to do something, bringing my business skills and stuff to see if I could help. The two early projects I worked on was I helped Bishop John raise the money to build the Sunrise High School in Musanze. But the real big project I worked on was I became enamored with microfinance and the impact that it can have on families and very small entrepreneurs. And I helped found and get started the Owego Opportunity Bank, and was served on that board for several years. Probably for 3 or 4 years, I came to Rwanda regularly. I brought friends. We worked with the Bishop John on the school. We worked with a variety of people on the bank. And in the process, I got to know President Kagame better. And when he started the President's Advisory Council in 2007, 2008, he asked me to join it. And it was a group of a dozen or more international friends who the president gave us a very unique opportunity to meet with him and many of the ministers to get an insight into how they were going about the business of building Rwanda. What led to Bridge to Rwanda is in the early meetings, we were, it was shared that the Rwandans were looking at the models of the Asian tigers and how did those economies grow so rapidly and so successfully over the last 50 years. And specifically, what they asked us as international friends is that would we build businesses in Rwanda? And would we encourage other foreign investors to build businesses in Rwanda? And at the same time, the other thing that accelerates economic growth was, could we create opportunities for some of the more promising young Rwandans to go study abroad, with the idea that they would come back and you would have a globally sophisticated generation of young leaders who could work with other foreign investors and companies and build globally competitive businesses and enterprises. And that was the real inspiration to build a bridge to Rwanda to do those two things: encourage foreign direct investment and create study abroad opportunities.
Sure. So Dale, could you share with us, some of the interesting foreign direct investment projects that have come up as a result of this unique opportunity that you've created? And
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, the first big project was the Owego Opportunity Bank. That was brought all foreign capital, and the initial management teams were Americans and other nationalities. One of my close friends who's also on the PAC is Scott Ford. And in the early days, we recruited what President Kagame called borrowed talent. We brought a lot of young Americans over. And so when we bring a foreign investor in, they would help kind of be the boots on the ground. And that was the beginning of the Rwanda Trading Company, which has become West Rock Coffee, which is a pretty major international integrated coffee business and one of the biggest coffee exporters of Rwanda. Another friend of mine was the CEO of Tyson Foods, one of the largest meat businesses, and Donnie Smith. And Donnie was very interested in bringing protein and what they had learned at Tyson's in America to Africa. And so he helped build the first commercial feed mill, and he still has a big poultry operation and feed mill called Zamora. We helped start an accounting firm called Acacia Accounting that specialized in helping foreign investors and training Rwandan accountants. Those were the things we did the first 4 or 5 years, and we worked with the president, Ministry of Education on the Rwanda Presidential Scholars Program, and helped find about 20 schools in America who would give scholarships. But a few years later, about 2010 or 11, the president asked us if we would create a program that would allow, kind of burst the bottlenecks to let the top student Rwandan to win full scholarships in America. So we started the Bridge to Rwanda Scholars Program, which is a residential gap program, which we have operated for 10 years. And we've helped about 300 top high school graduates earn and be awarded full scholarships worth about $70 million to more than 80 top universities all over the world. I think the most significant part of that, though, is we weren't doing that to send students abroad. We were doing that to create a fellowship of globally educated young Rwandans who would come back here and provide a source of talent and energy to build global enterprises in Rwanda.
And I'm happy to inform you that you did an incredible job, and we really have a good talent pool. AC Group has benefited from that pool, and interestingly, the name AC Group comes from Air Clark, and the person who came up with the name is a Bridge to Rwanda scholar, Irene.
Good.
Who's now in Canada. It was a big challenge, and while we were at it, he just jumped in and helped us get the right name. We loved it, and we went along with it.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah, it's incredible. You've taken us through a brief of what you managed to do before you got to Rwanda, and finally when you came to Rwanda. I would say it has been quite successful. And it has a side of impact as well to it. And it just wanted to bring me to the next question. How do you measure success?
For me, when I left my business activities in the United States, I really looked to a divine inspiration. I looked to God to ask him how he defines success. And the primary focus is using your skills, your time, your talent to improve the lives of other people. I made that commitment before I ever met Bishop John. And I've always felt like God's opening doors and closing doors. And that has led me on this journey for the last almost 20 years to work in Rwanda. We have failed at projects. We've been successful at projects. I don't really worry too much about that, because when a project fails, it just means God just closed the door. And that means he's opened a new one. And so I'm enjoying the journey and investing my time and talent in something. Rwanda has given me an extraordinary opportunity to walk alongside the extraordinary development of the country. And I'm very humbled and honored to do it. And I can't tell anyone that you could live a better life than just watching the Rwandans do their thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's exciting for me to hear, that you ask yourself a question before you answer. How does God measure success? And I think it creates the right foundation for you to, to look at things, and it gives you the right lens for you to look through while looking at a view and measuring, success and failure and all those that come with it. So I know we're very pressed on time, and I want to give an opportunity to those who are following to also ask some questions. I know they have some burning questions, but we're in unprecedented times right now, COVID times, and it's created lots of challenges, but also created a lot of opportunities You know, personally, I think it also gave us time to really listen to God's voice through the silence and through the pause of work and all that it came with. You know, what's been your thought? What's been your experience? What are you looking to as the future? And what would you share with someone who has so many questions about what's been happening through the last year, I would say?
What surprised me is how resilient we have been. And when I say we, I talk about the teams at Bridge to Rwanda. The Bridge to Rwanda Fellows is what we call people who come back. And we really operate three different divisions. We have a college prep program. Historically, that was a boarding program. And for the first 7 months of this year's cohort, everything was online and everything was remote. Despite that, the 25 young people we worked with have done better at winning international scholarships than almost any of the groups before them. And our teaching people learned how to work remotely. They used different software, different programs, and it's expanded our capacity to do a lot of other things, which we never would have done had we not been forced to do all this stuff remotely. At the same time, one of our biggest activities is the Bridge Career Services, which places high capacity, globally educated Rwandans with employers, with a couple of hundred employers in Rwanda. Well, historically, we spent a lot of time working with entry-level jobs. This year, a lot of our students and abroad could not come home. So we started working with companies to find senior level managers and middle level managers, which they're willing to compensate us for. So we built a whole new business in mid and senior level executive recruiting that we wouldn't have had time to do up to this. The third division we worked with is B2R Farms, which is a conservation agriculture training program. And what we learned is that agriculture, even in a pandemic, you have to work. And our farms, we're working with the University of Rwanda. We're building demonstration plots up at the Basogo campus in Musanze. And despite the pandemic, those crops are doing well. We've been training new trainers and interns from the University of Rwanda. So I've really been surprised at how not only how resilient the program is, but how many new things we learned how to do in the last year.
Right.
Good. So we have.
I love that. Yeah.
Sorry, we have questions for people already, but yeah.
Thanks, Yannick. I was just going to commend, you know, the spirit of being resilient and pivoting along the way. But yeah, please, Yannick, you know, you would like to moderate the questions?
So the first questions we have is from Mandela. What has been your biggest challenge in building Bridge to Rwanda, and what opportunities do you see there the young people can tap into to help solve those challenges?
Sure. I think originally it was getting the resources to do it, the money, the teachers. The Rwandan government has been extremely generous. They have provided facilities for us to use, and hopefully we operate off the University of Rwanda campus. So it took a while for those resources to come together, and it was even in the beginning a hard time to get students to actually participate because we had no track record. But you know, it wasn't what we did, it was the performance of these incredible Rwandan scholars. I mean, given what you learn is you give people the right opportunity and you give them the right resources, and what they're capable of accomplishing is unbelievable. So the success of our program is not what we've done, it's been this extraordinary performance by almost 300 talented young Rwandans. I mean, they make us look really good.
Next question. We have a bunch of questions. So I'm trying to ask as many people. Another question is from Malaika. What are the most important lessons you learned in your career? One or two?
It's probably two. One is relationships are critical, and building a relationship, a network of people that you know, you trust, you can work with is essential. This is a lesson that was put to me by certainly President Kagame. I mean, Rwanda has a clear vision of where it wants to do, how it wants to implement it. It doesn't need outside people telling it what to do. But at the same time, President Kagame has been extraordinary at building an international network of friends and finding ways to draw them in to helping Rwanda. So I think, building a network of friends, partners, advisors, people you can partner with, you just don't know what doors will open when you aggressively connect with people and share with them what you're doing and learn what they're doing. That's one thing. The second thing, which we tell all of our B2R fellows and scholars, is that a skill that is in high demand is the ability to organize and lead a group of people to get results. And that's not something you learn in college. It's about being able to identify talent, gather them together around a common vision and spirit, and then manage a diverse group of talent to get something done, whether it's in the government, whether it's in a business, whether it's in a nonprofit, an NGO. If you can organize people and get results, the world, you own it.
The next question is from David. How do you create a culture of entrepreneurship?
I think it's about empowering each individual to play to their strength. I think it's learning not to be afraid. God tells us over and over again in the scripture, don't be afraid. There is no, I've got you. So you can afford to give your whole life, your passion to whatever it is, and you're not ever going to fail. You will keep learning, you'll keep improving. And I think you have to create an environment where people know you care about their personal development and that they shouldn't be afraid to give and to commit and to be involved.
We're gonna take I think we're running out of time. We're gonna take three last questions. What's the United States secret that continue to cultivate a culture of entrepreneurship and innovation? So what's the secret of the United States?
The secret in the United States?
Yeah, for
yeah. It attracted people who were not afraid to build something on their own. And it was people who were not expecting somebody else to take care of them. And that goes back 200 years. I mean, the whole drive of the United States was an entrepreneurial, where individuals and families went out and took great risk in order to create wealth and enterprises and opportunities for their families and their communities. I think creating an entrepreneurial environment where people feel like they have the freedom to take risk and to build something for themselves and their family. What we like to inject in that is that all entrepreneurship is social, is that it has a community value, that when people build enterprises and create jobs and create wealth, everybody benefits.
This is a question for Dell. Oh, and Patrick, you could answer this if you want. How how to grow as a leader. How do you grow as a leader? How to grow?
Go ahead, Patrick.
I would love to hear Dell's perspective, but I think as a leader, you should never settle for less. There is always room to grow, and you know, you take every opportunity to pick as many lessons as possible. Use as much time to learn what you do not understand, and appreciate the fact that you can learn so much from, you know, senior members of your team to the last junior member of your team, and, you know, be deliberate about it. Ask yourself through the last couple of months, what have I learned, and create a strategy for what you want to learn through the next couple of months, and be very deliberate about it, be very disciplined about it, hold yourself with a lot of accountability, and challenge yourself to do more and more. And I think that's what I would say.
There's a book called Good to Great that looks at what are the characteristics of great organizations. And one of those is what they call a level 5 leader. And a level 5 leader is somebody who is absolutely committed and passionate about accomplishing the mission of the organization, and at the same time do not take themselves too seriously. They realize that to accomplish any great mission, it's about you being a servant to the team you're building to accomplish the mission, and that you can't get your ego or your own self involved in that. You can be intense and driven to accomplish the mission, as long as it's not a reflection of your ego or for your own self-gratification or benefit. People will come along beside you. And that's learning to be that kind of a servant leader who is fanatical about reaching the mission. At the same time, it's all about helping the team or the group get to the goal. And, you know, obviously President Kagame is one of the great examples of our generation.
We have a question from Richard. Where do you see or want to see the Bridge to Rwanda program in the next 10, 20 years?
We want to see the program have a lot more impact. We want to improve to help a lot more people. We really have divided the organization into 3 divisions. Each of those divisions is now primarily led by Bridge to Rwanda fellows and other really high capacity young Rwandans. And I would like to see those divisions operating financially and management wise with their own vision, their own growth plan, their own teams, and that they will continue long after I'm around.
Okay, so this last question is from Wera. I'm a new CEO of a company of 15 people, just started. What tips you would give me to success in my role? This is for Del and Patrick. Oh, Patrick, you're very popular today.
Oh, yeah. I think Dev has, you know, the right experience to share. Dev, please go on.
Sure. I think the key thing is to figure out what it is that you and your team want to accomplish. What is the problem in the world you want to solve? Is that what are you passionate about? What do you care about? And then what is the you and the team that you have really equipped to do? You know, are you engineers? Are you business people? Are you salesmen? Are you managers? But it's about figuring out what it is that you can do better than anybody else in the world to solve a problem that you really care about. And then you start assembling a team of people who share your same passion to solve that problem.
We ran out of time. I want to say thank you very much, Del and Patrick, for your time. Very interesting conversation. I want to say thank you for everybody joining us. I see 2 ambassadors join us the last minute. Thank you very much for joining us. And I hope to see everybody in the next program. Thank you very much, Dale. And Happy New Year, Patrick and Dale.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Yannick.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much, Dale. Thank you, Nick. Bye.